Hi guys, my name is Adeline and I am creating this video as a part of my EDAD 848 curriculum planning class. Our assignment this week is to look at IQ versus performance, academic performance, and to see if there are any discrepancies between students' IQ and whether they are going to perform high academically. I am looking at the Seward Public School System data. It's not a very ethnically diverse group of students. 1,321 were listed as white, with only 62 students being listed district-wide as another race or ethnicity. Only 24% receive free or reduced meals compared with the state average of 44%, so it's quite a bit lower. I looked at the NWEA test scores for the Seward Middle School 8th graders. There are 84 total students in the 8th grade that were tested. The scores were reported between 1 and 99. So in this instance, Seward's having a hard time talking today. Anyway, Seward students scored a composite score in reading of 64% and a math composite score of 62%. Students who are not identified as needing special education scored a bit higher. They scored an average of 70% in reading and 68% in math. District-wide now, 82 total students were listed as high ability learners. 6 of those were in the 8th grade. So when I looked at those that were on the honor roll, there are 14 total kids who are on the honor roll there. So if you're looking at that data, one might notice that the number of 8th graders who are listed as high ability learners on the honor roll and scoring the highest on these reported statewide tests are not matching up. In this case, only 4 of the students listed as high ability learners scored above the composite with regards to the statewide test, and only 3 of the high ability learners were listed on the honor roll. So after I read this, I did find it rather interesting to start reading the research that Dr. Hayner presented for us or gave us. I liked the first article that I read about grit trumping IQ, and I do think that this is true. It didn't surprise me. I found another article that also, let me see if I can find this here. It talked about... here it is. Okay, so it mentioned what Angela Duckworth studied in terms of grit, and it also said that self-regulation and empathy are incredibly important. So this is the ability to make it a practice of doing challenging activities first, and then being able to, and then of course empathy means being able to understand the perspective and feelings of another person. As a parent of very young children, I have to say that this is a very, very hard thing to teach, so we can sit here and hope that today's teachers can, help our children to learn these traits. My 4-year-old, he loves putting off, if I ask him, if you can clean your room now or you can clean your room after school, he will pick after school every single time. He lives in the moment, and it doesn't occur to him like, oh, I could, take care of this right now, and then after school I can play. And then there, a couple of the articles that I read made reference to the marshmallow test with, I believe kindergartners, where they were offered one marshmallow and they couldn't eat it within a certain time frame, and some did and some didn't, and it was a way to kind of look at whether they were going to be successful in the future or not. So anyway, I guess the point of my video here is that I did see that discrepancy between IQ and performance. I remember, seeing some of this stuff when I taught in the regular education classroom, where students who are listed as high ability learners might struggle in class, if they're not listening, if they're not participating, paying attention to assignments, that kind of thing. So it is a lot to think about. Oh, and I guess one other thing here, this is a little bit discombobulated, and I'm sorry for that. It's kind of weird to make videos of yourself that you know a lot of people are going to watch. Anyway, some of the research I read also pointed out that the performance of standardized, the how students perform on standardized tests is also impacted on, did they eat a good breakfast? Were they well rested? Was that, if they were fighting with a family member, that might impact their performance. So, it's based on a single glimpse into that student's, day, I guess, if you will. And then, classroom grades are, or teachers might, come up with grades based on how do they perform in class. What's their attendance? A big project, a major test. It's all just kind of dependent on how that teacher runs their classroom versus a standardized test. The district, state, etc. wants to be able to compare a group of students to each other. So they do measure different things, so it's important to remember that moving forward. I did think that this was a very interesting thing to read about, learn about, and I kind of found myself when I was reading through some of these articles sharing some of it with my husband, and he'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. So it was interesting, and it did give us some things to talk about at home, which was good. So I think that was kind of the point here. So I hope you guys also enjoyed the assignment as much as I did. Thank you.